the drop shot. To me, one of the most underused tools to really get your opponent in trouble. So today we're going to focus on when to hit it, how to hit it, and how to follow it up, because that is something that I see a lot. People do drop shot and then don't know really where to go. So let's get started. So the number one time when you want to drop shot is when you see somebody far behind the baseline, because of course if you hit the ball short, they have a long ways to run. Most players are more happy to move laterally at the baseline than running forward.
So great example here by Andy Murray, pulling out his opponent wide and then drop shotting, attacking the front part of the court. And you see how long of a way that is to run for his opponent from all the way behind the baseline here to this area here. So court positioning of the opponent is really important when you want to drop shot.
The second time when you want to drop shot somebody is not necessarily when they're that far back, but when they have very extreme grips and have a harder time switching the grip. So imagine somebody's running full steam coming forward and they have a really extreme forehand grip or a two-hander. Again, to make that switch into a continental grip is going to throw them off rhythm. So that is another great time to drop shot. Talking about rhythm, if you're in long rallies back at the baseline, throwing in a drop shot is going to throw them off their rhythm, because they have to all of a sudden change direction in a way that is not what they've been doing the entire time. So even if the drop shot is not something that you're doing a whole lot yet, it's a great weapon to throw your opponent something that they're not used to.
And here's an example of Iga Swiatek using the drop shot after a longer rally, and also to tire out her opponent, and of course to change rhythm. So they're just trading ground strokes, lots of power the entire time. Nobody's really having that much of an advantage, but now look at the court position, little back behind the baseline, and then a really well disguised drop shot.
When do you want to drop shot? Now, I would not necessarily try to drop shot if you're very far behind the baseline, because the ball travels a lot of time and it gives a lot of time for your opponent to read the ball. I would probably also not start out, when I'm starting to work with drop shots, hitting the drop shot from the middle, because you're not getting an angle.
And this here is a great example of when not to hit a drop shot. Yep, they both got nothing. So you don't want to necessarily drop shot when you're in the middle of the court, because it's difficult to achieve an angle there. And you also do not want to drop shot when you're on your way back, and see how deep he is behind the baseline. So that was just some kind of glitch in this guy's brain.
A really good opportunity to drop shot is when you yourself are a little bit in the court and you have a little bit of an angle on the incoming ball, because it's easier to hit an angle off an angle. Another key part is, when you're starting out with your drop shot, start going cross court first. You're going over the lower part of the net, and even if you were to screw it up, if the ball has an angle, it still pulls your opponent out of the court, instead of going down the line. And as we said in German then, it's the weekly offer of $199 to smack a forehand winner if it bounces way too high. So I'll show you what I mean by hitting a couple of drop shots. Characteristics of a good drop shot. It hits your camera. Characteristics of a good drop shot. All right, you want to aim to have the drop shot bounce 3 times. Yes, made it on that one, before it passes the service line over on the other side. So let's see if I can do 2 in a row, just to prove that it wasn't coincidence. 1, 2, yeeks, but it had an angle, so still good drop shot. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 2.5. So one more time. That is a good ball because it has an angle. Now, and of course, once you learned how to drop shot cross court and you're safe with that, you feel confident with that, then by all means, go down the line as well. But you want to keep in mind that you're going over the higher part of the net, and if that sits up, my entire forehand side is open. So how to continue to play after you hit the drop shot. Obviously, don't stay rooted to the spot where you hit it from. You want to continue to play and not just admire your drop shot. So let's assume this player down here is hitting a drop shot cross court, so over lowest part of the net, and even if it's not the greatest drop shot, ideally it still pushes the opponent off the court a little bit. So my opponent runs to this ball. He or she has two most extreme shots, and this here would be a counter drop shot, can be a counter drop shot here, of course, as well. But this is the entirety of the area that you want to cover. So you want to go into any position of this bisector of an angle. If you see that it is an okay drop shot, meaning if you're looking through the mesh of the net and you see the racket head drop below the net line, they will have to lift it. So that's probably not going to be a really aggressive ball here or here. So if they have to lift it, scoot up a little bit more. If you see that it's not the greatest ball and it kind of bounces up high, that's when you don't necessarily want to close in. So it just depends a little bit on the quality of the ball, but you definitely want to be somewhere on the bisector of an angle. Now, most people drop shot off their backhand because it's easier from a regular slice to change the swing ever so slightly and cup the ball a little bit more. But to my mind, you should not neglect the forehand drop shot because that is really the ultimate disguise if you can do that. Getting up to a shorter ball that usually you would tee off on and then last second change your grip and drop shot it.
And of course, the player who is exceptionally good at that is Carlos Alcaraz. So just a little slower here than in real life, but you see here last second on the next shot, takes the racket back as a regular forehand, then last second changes to a continental grip, and then just drops that ball short because he notices how deep his opponent is. There we go. Beautifully done.
All right, so forehand drop shot. Right now, just try to work on the same things. You take the racket back, and you're just cupping the ball a little bit more. All right, so you're just underspinning it. So you get into your regular forehand grip and then switch the grip on your take back. So right now I'm in my Eastern, semi-Western grip, and as I take it back, I switch my grip to a continental grip. So again, that was horrific, but I'm showing you anyways because I have to work on that too. There we go. So then I can start to hit one and then drop one. Hit one and then drop one. So again, the progression goes from complete continental grip, just getting the feel, take the racket back, work on how much you have to underspin the ball to keep it short. Then you're going into switching the grip mid-swing so that you get the feel when you have to change it, how you have to change it. And then the last one is you alternate your regular forehand with a drop shot. So a few drills to learn the drop shot on both the forehand and the backhand. So number one, just self-feed drills. Get your continental grip, maybe even choke up, and just get the feel for that underspin. And it's really gentle. I'm not hacking at the ball. I'm just really just feeling the ball. Okay, and then once you feel you can do that and you can control it, I'm just going to hit it over the net from a very short distance. So right from here, I'm like 2-3 yards away from the net. You can see the net still. I'm just going to hit that over a little bit further. So this way I get the feel, how far do I have to open the racket face to make the ball go a little further? What is too much? If it's too open and I'm hitting it too hacky, the ball goes up a little too far and it sits. And that's just, again, develop your feel. You can do that anywhere. Just have a bucket of balls and do that for a warm-up, for instance. And then as usual, I'm going from simpler to more complex. So I can move back a little bit and still just self-feed these balls. And then I can extend to full grip and move back even more until I'm all the way back at the baseline. And then if you either have somebody hand toss the ball to you, or you can go to the ball machine, make it more from simpler to more complex. But that's the way to learn your drop shot. So have fun with that. Let me know in the comments how they worked and how frustrated your opponent got.